I'd be willing to bet that if you looked at your learning budget right now, you'd find that 80 to 90% of your resources are going towards formal learning events and digital courses. The irony here is that most conversations on this platform about formal learning events are about what's wrong with them. And that makes sense. A talent development strategy that leans too heavily on formal learning events will ultimately fail. But this type of learning isn't going anywhere. That's why I think it's worth talking about the role that classrooms or formal learning events in general should play in the learner's journey. For me, a lot of problems happen because the classroom gets treated like the end game instead of like a part of the solution. If it's used correctly, I think the classroom can support the learner's journey in a powerful way. So when should we use the classroom, and what role do formal learning events actually play? I like to use formal learning events for 6 things: creating awareness, building buy-in, confronting unfamiliar ideas in a safe environment, introducing problems and solutions for the first time, failing safely without hurting the customer experience or team performance, and providing resources that can be used after the event. But this only works if you don't divorce information from context, and the event is 90% learner participation and 10% facilitator speaking. Also, the topic has to actually matter, and you need to close the gap between the classroom and the real work environment. One more thing. You have to have a real plan for what happens after the event. For example, post-training resources so the learners are not expected to remember everything they learned in the classroom, peer support programs, and systems that reinforce what was introduced. In other words, a formal learning event is not the end of a learning project. It's the beginning. Traditional learning events aren't going away anytime soon. Your stakeholders are going to keep asking for them, and you probably want to keep building them. So the real question is, how are you going to use them to improve business results, elevate the learner's experience, and support their journey?